Hi there. Welcome to Lost in Literature. Today I'll be doing a poem called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. It's a simple poem as such, but symbolically it implies a lot more, and that's what makes it very interesting. Let me read the poem out to you before we start analyzing it. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and the frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound is the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Well, that's the poem, and there is not one tough word in it, and yet it's one of the most complex poems ever written because it implies so much. There's so much symbolism involved in the poem. But let's look at it at a simplistic level and just appreciate it. Well, straight away in stanza 1, the poet has expressed, that's the right word. The poet has expressed a contrast, okay? There is a difference between him and the man who owns the woods. What the poet means by that, he's not telling you straight away, but he's indicating it. He happens to be in that part of the woods, and he says that there is hardly any chance of the owner catching him for trespassing because there's nobody there. It's a dark evening, one of the longest nights in winter. Snow's falling. The woods are isolated. And yet, the woods are so beautiful that he's enraptured by the sight of it. And he's full of appreciation for the beauty of nature. And he counts himself lucky to have this experience of standing in the woods on a snowy evening. But take the owner of the woods, for instance. He lives in the village. He's nowhere near this beautiful woods that he owns. He's far away. He's not so lucky like the poet. He may own it. So what? He doesn't know how his woods look on a snowy evening. And that's something he's really missing. The other contrast expressed here is between the woods, which is an untouched, natural, wild piece of land full of trees, as contrasted with the village, where human civilization exists. And there you will find houses, roads, parks, shopping malls, or maybe shops as they existed in those days. And that's it. Everything is familiar. But here in the woods, nothing is familiar. The poet is in uncharted territory. So these are the two contrasts suggested in the first stanza. Now moving to the second stanza, we have another contrast. Excuse me. The poet poet talks about his little horse, very possessive about his little horse, very affectionate towards it. That's another part of human nature. We like to bond with people and other living things around us. And here you have the poet riding his horse through the woods, and he's snatching a few moments of rest. Okay? And once again, a horse is a creature of routine. It's a creature of habit. It cannot understand why the poet has stopped in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't have the capacity to perceive beauty, to appreciate it, because that is not something that's not an ability that God has gifted it with. Whereas as human beings, we are lucky. We are able to perceive beauty, we are able to appreciate it. We are overwhelmed by such sights. And in that sense, man is different. But in both cases, in the case of the poet and in the case of the person who owns the woods, there is this acquisitive quality. And that shows how possessive we are. And in reality, nothing really is ours, except that it's a human construct, wanting to own things. And apart from the fact that the horse is puzzled by the poet stopping there, we also have the poet describing the woods a little bit. It's a very, very enchanting spot that he has decided to stop at. He's right between the woods on one side, dark, with trees, reflected, maybe hazily on the frozen glassy lake. Terrific images created in our mind, and you have time stopping here. You have the poet lost in the silence of the woods. He's spellbound by it, totally absorbed. He's looking around and he's completely captivated. There is no hurry, no bustle, no hustle, nothing. Just the woods. You have the glassy surface of the frozen lake reflecting maybe some of the trees growing on the edge. And there the man stands with his horse, lost in it. So that is something that it's absolutely stunning, the image of the woods in winter. I mean, we can already imagine it in our mind. And then now we move on, to the third stanza. The horse is completely bewildered by this little stop that the poet makes. And it's watching the poet looking around, and it's kind of restless because this is something that the poet doesn't do normally. Normally, he stops where there is a farmhouse, and that is what the horse can understand, because a farmhouse is a place where the horse will get a drink of water, maybe a lump of sugar to eat, maybe some carrots to munch. So that's what the horse is looking forward to. And here in the middle of nowhere, it cannot get anything. So it's looking at the man in a puzzled manner. As for the oh my, I've lost it for a minute. Okay, back to the explanation. The horse wants to get to the farmhouse fast. So now this man is standing around here, and the horse has to jerk him out of this kind of, loss of so-called consciousness of the present in the man. So he gives his bells a shake, and when the bells jangle, the man is jerked back to reality. Goodness, he comes out of that spellbound state. He comes out of the hypnotic power that the woods had exercised on him, and he becomes aware of the present. And suddenly he realizes that the woods are not all that silent. There is the sound of the wind gently blowing, and there is also the soft sound of feathery snow falling. Nature never stops its activities. It is ceaseless. It works quietly. The cycle of nature continues imperceptibly, quietly, beyond our notice. We are not aware of nature ticking away quietly. And suddenly he comes back to the reality of his situation. All said and done, the woods are lonely. They are mysterious. However lovely they might be, they symbolize something that is beyond the boundary of man's comfort zone. The woods are lovely. On to the fourth stanza. The woods are lovely, but they are also dark and they are deep. It's as if they have inscrutable depths which man cannot analyze or understand. All of us tend to be logical. We want reasons and explanations for everything. But here in the woods, it's a question of surrendering to beauty in an instinctive manner. It's beyond reason. And fact also remains, it's beyond a person's comfort zone. We are used to civilization, and when we stray out of it, we are rather uneasy. Is there danger? Is there mystery? Are we safe here? These things hit you. And there are other thoughts too, as far as the poet is concerned. He suddenly realizes he cannot tarry in the woods forever. He has to start getting back to civilization, getting back to his village before he can rest. And so he starts his homeward journey because, like he says, he has obligations, promises, meetings, duties, things to do, errands to run, so many things before he can lie down in the night and sleep. And that takes him to another level of thought suddenly, because that's the kind of effect woods have on you. And he realizes that this journey through the woods symbolizes his journey of life. He cannot tarry in the woods forever. He has to come out of it. He has to achieve his goals, actualize his dreams, make things happen in the real world. And so he has promises to keep, but at the same time, he's also conscious of the fact that there are so many things that he has to do by the end of his life. By the time he gets to the ultimate destination of life, death, the journey is also eternal. And then he gets to the end of his life at a time when he's ready when he's done with all his responsibilities and he can surrender to death. But now he's not ready for it and he must push on. And I'm sure that's what he did. It's a fantastic poem and it really makes us realize our responsibilities. There are times when we are caught by the beauty of nature. Yes, we are overwhelmed by it. Whenever we sneak off into resorts and other places which are close to natural beauty, maybe waterfalls, forests, we are aware of its immense power, its mystery, everything. But we get back also to civilization, to life as we know it and as we are comfortable with, and get on doing things. That's all for today. I hope you liked it and we'll be back next week for yet another poem. By then, see you again.